Okay, so it's 90 degrees outside. You know, it's Friday afternoon, it's after 4 o'clock. This is the perfect time for copyright, isn't it? Thank you for scheduling me at the end of the entire thing. All right, so that being said, I am Amy Blair, and I am the copyright librarian here on campus, and I'm also the head of distance learning services. So we're here to talk about the use of third-party materials posted on the web or in online courses or anything online. So just because I want to know, how many of you are primarily involved in posting material to open websites? Yeah, putting things up. And how many of you are involved in putting content into an online course? Anybody? 1, 2? Yeah, all you guys. Okay, I know. That's the way it is. All right. So by now, hopefully everybody has received a copy of Know Your Copyrights. Now hang on to this because that's where my contact information is located, and pretty much a basic synopsis of everything I'm going to tell you except the extra tips. Okay, so that being said, managing copyright is all about managing risk. It's how lucky you feel that you're not going to be caught infringing, things like that. Now, MSU, and I hate to be on tape to say this, but I will, is somewhat risk averse, and so therefore we take a conservative interpretation of copyright, which means you have to think about what you do very carefully. So, now that being said, putting materials up on the open web is a greater risk than, say, putting things up in an online password-protected course. On the open web, there are fewer mitigating factors for interpreting fair use. So, next I'm going to talk about the 4 factors that can help you determine whether something is fair use. All right, and they're all in your handy-dandy brochure. Now the first is the purpose and character of the work. I mean, how do you plan to use the material? Are you putting it up in an online course? Are you going to put it up on the open website for your department that's being used to market their programs? Fair use favors teaching. Advertising and marketing, not so much. So the second is the nature of the work. Is it fact-based? Is it out of print? Is it fortunately in the public domain before 1923? You know, in which case you can use it. Number 3 is the amount used. If you're putting something up in an online course, it's okay to use snippets of text that is kind of interwoven with teaching and learning at that teachable moment. And I want you to keep in mind that an image is considered an entire work. So there's no such thing as putting up, of course, a piece of an image. And you also, along with the amount used, you have to consider what that amount is. You know, for example, Gerald Ford's book, where he talks about pardoning Nixon. You know, that was excerpted in a newspaper, and that essentially was the heart of the work. And so it took kind of all the interest out of buying the book, because that's the only reason anybody was really buying it, was to find that out. So, so that was found to be an infringement. Now, the next thing to consider is the market effect. You can't harm the potential market for the value of the copyrighted work. And this is why you should not stream commercial DVDs online without permission. If you have a big course with a lot of students in it and it prevents them, you know, from buying the DVD, I think that the commercial provider would frown on this. All right. So after you weigh these factors, you yourself, you know, because you're thinkers, and you decide, yeah, I think this falls under fair use. What I suggest you do is you write down your reasoning. You know, what you felt were the mitigating factors for you and why you feel this is under fair use, and keep track of that, because I'll bring that up later. So, okay, so it's not fair use, or you're not sure. What do? Well, you can contact me, and my contact information is here. contact me and we'll talk about it. I prefer email because I like to give you a written record of the decision so that we've gone through this together, you understand my thinking and where I'm coming from. Now, although I am not a lawyer, I do know lawyers. And if ever I have any question, I usually go to the general counsel's office. So if you don't like my decision, you're perfectly happy. You know, you can go to the general counsel's office, who will most likely back me up because we're all conservative. Yes. So the other thing you can do, of course, is request permission to use the material. You know, and that's why copyright really is kind of flexible. People seem to be really afraid to request permission, and I don't really know why that is. Why do you think that is? Why would you? Yeah, well, it doesn't hurt to ask. Yeah, it doesn't hurt to ask, and you can get their reasoning. So the library does offer a permission service, and I have this page posted, and it's at copyright.lib.msu.edu. It's free to request. You know, we pursue the rights holders for you. We find them, and then, you know, then we contact them. And we always try to get our permission gratis and in perpetuity. Because the one thing the library will not do is pay for your permissions. That would have to come from your department's budget. Okay, so now things to keep in mind in general. You must always credit your source. I mean, even if you have interpreted something to be fair use and it turns out not to be fair use, crediting your source can be a mitigating factor, and it shows that you thought about this and that you did not plagiarize. This is the biggest problem that I see, is things in courses that are not credited. And why wouldn't you want to credit it? Because, you know, we're all about scholarship here, so we have to attribute these works to the people that actually did them. Now, number 2, a license will always trump fair use. That licensure language is the first thing you need to check. Because, like I said, it's always ahead of fair use, and you must comply with a particular license. And by this, this is why you cannot put up articles licensed by the library, full text, in your online course, even in a password-protected course. It's simply a violation of our license agreements. And we probably could pursue a different license that would allow us to do so. It would cost several million more dollars than what we're paying for now. So you see my point. However, you can create what's called a stable link from within your online course, or even from your website if you so desire. And of course, that could only be used by MSU people who were able to log in. All right, so as far as material on the web, generally speaking, you're looking at a site and you see something that you like. So what you're going to want to do is look at the terms of use for a site. Read those carefully. If you have any problems with that, you know, you can contact me to help you interpret it, but read those terms of use. You can use the Contact Us form on a site to request permission. I mean, you don't have to request your permissions through us, but if you have time on your hands and you want to do that kind of thing and track them, you know, you can, and as long as you keep a careful record of what you've done. And when you look at a site, don't assume that a site has permission to use a particular image, because you don't know that one way or another. And what will happen is you'll just compound their initial violation and you'll be just as liable. So you can't point the finger at the other guy and say, well, they put it up. You know, and I thought it was okay since they put it up. Not. Okay, so you want to also look for material with a Creative Commons license. And there are 6 types of Creative Commons license, and you want to find the one that, you know, hopefully that you can find material with the most lenient one that allows for more of an open source use. Now, other resources you can use. There are sites that can be found at copyright.lib.msu.edu that links to other universities' copyright pages. and their copyright guidelines and things like that that might be useful to you. There's also a link to a fair use calculator to help you kind of figure out all your factors when you're looking at something. The library also offers copyright webinars on a fairly regular basis every semester. And I think there's a list for this group, Bert, right? So I could send something and you would send it out. Okay, so we offer a lot of webinars on different aspects of copyright, and we have 2 coming up in October, and I'll send you something. So, now what happens if you get caught? Now, I'm sorry I don't have the picture of the jail here. I thought that would be pretty cool. Yes, so will the university support you? What do you guys think?
Of course.
Will they support you if you made the decision to use this on your own? What would be the mitigating factors if you just decided to put something up willy-nilly? We've had willy-nilly before. Willy-nilly's not good. Yes, most likely yes. And the university has paid the fines before, and the university has spoken directly to the chairs of departments to, don't do this again. And so you can imagine the whole backlash. But okay, so you get caught. But keeping good records, as I mentioned before, of why you made the decision, or the fact that you've contacted me, I mean, those things would all work in your favor in the unlikely event that somebody would feel that you were infringing. But of course, we're all thinking about copyright carefully here. And the odds of that happening are rare. Okay. This is always so uplifting. All right, any questions?